A dramatic court ruling has shaken Washington. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to release full SNAP benefits to states by Friday, after weeks of confusion, legal battles, and a government shutdown that left millions of Americans without food assistance. What led to this crisis, and what does this decision mean for struggling families? Welcome to Shadow Report, where we break down today's biggest policy stories with facts, clarity, and balance. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay informed about the issues that matter most to you. Chapter 1. The Crisis at Hand. At the center of this controversy is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, better known as food stamps, which supports over 42 million Americans every month. These benefits help low-income individuals and families afford basic groceries, often serving as a critical safety net during financial hardship. But in November 2025, as the federal government shutdown dragged into its third week, funding for SNAP became uncertain. Millions of families faced the prospect of missing their benefits for the first time in the program's six-decade history. On Thursday, U.S. District Judge John McConnell, based in Rhode Island, stepped in with a sweeping order. The Trump administration must deliver full SNAP benefits to states by Friday. No delays, no excuses. Chapter 2. The lawsuit that sparked the ruling. The ruling came in response to a lawsuit filed by Democracy Forward, a progressive legal advocacy group. The group sued the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, after the agency announced that SNAP benefits would not be distributed in November as long as the federal government remained closed. Democracy Forward argued that the decision was both arbitrary and capricious, terms that carry legal weight under the Administrative Procedure Act. They claimed the USDA had violated federal law by abruptly halting payments without exploring alternative funding sources. Judge McConnell agreed, finding that the administration's actions were unjustified and harmful. He said that the evidence showed millions could go hungry if the benefits weren't restored immediately. Chapter 3. The Trump administration's plan and its shortfall. The Trump administration had announced plans to partially fund the program by using $4.65 billion in contingency funds, enough to cover about 65% of normal SNAP benefits. However, the administration refused to use additional funding available in child nutrition programs, known as Section 32 funds, arguing that the money was intended for school meal programs, not food stamps. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins defended the decision, saying the government was doing the best it could under shutdown conditions. She warned that even distributing the partial funds could take several weeks, leaving families waiting through November. This explanation did not satisfy the court or SNAP recipients, many of whom had already begun to feel the effects of the lapse in aid. Chapter 4. Inside the courtroom. During the Thursday hearing, government lawyers argued that the Trump administration had technically complied with McConnell's earlier orders. They claimed that states had already received partial funds on Monday and that the delay was due to state-level distribution problems. Tyler Becker, counsel to the Assistant Attorney General, told the court, "This is a state problem." He maintained that the federal government had done its part. But Judge McConnell wasn't convinced. He rebuked the administration, saying it had done nothing to ensure that SNAP benefits reached families in need. He ordered the administration to immediately tap Section 32 child nutrition funds to make up the shortfall and deliver full payments. The evidence shows that people will go hungry, food pantries will be overburdened, and needless suffering will occur, McConnell said from the bench. This is a problem that could have and should have been avoided. Chapter 5. The human cost of the delay. While Washington argues over funding and authority, the real-world consequences are being felt in homes and communities across America. For many families, SNAP benefits are the difference between stability and hunger. With payments delayed, some have skipped meals or cut back on medication to stretch their remaining funds. Food banks from Pennsylvania to California report record demand. Some have been forced to limit how many items families can take or restrict visits due to shortages. Volunteers say they've never seen such high levels of need in such a short period. One of those affected is LaTanya Gamble, a 50-year-old mother from Erie, Pennsylvania, who told reporters she has not received her November benefits. "When you're in a position to provide for people who depend on these life-sustaining services," she said, "how can you be at war with each other in the midst of people trying to survive?" Chapter 6. The legal and political fallout. Soon after Judge McConnell's order, the Department of Justice filed a notice of intent to appeal the decision, to the First U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Boston. The administration argued that the ruling overstepped judicial boundaries, especially during a government shutdown. At a dinner with Central Asian leaders, President Donald Trump was asked about the ruling, but deferred the question to Vice President J.D. Vance. Vance criticized McConnell's decision, calling it absurd. In the midst of a shutdown, we can't have a federal court telling the president how he has to triage the situation, Vance said. The White House Office of Management and Budget, OMB, has declined to comment on how it plans to comply with the judge's order. Chapter 7. The Partisan Divide. Predictably, the ruling has deepened partisan tensions. Democrats accuse the Trump administration of playing politics with hunger, saying the government could have prevented this crisis by reallocating funds earlier or negotiating a bipartisan budget deal. Republicans, on the other hand, blame Democrats for refusing to pass a short-term spending measure that would have reopened the government through November 21st. They argue that Trump's team is doing what it can with limited resources. Both sides agree on one thing: the situation is untenable. But as Congress remains gridlocked, millions of Americans are caught in the middle of a political tug-of-war. Chapter 8. What happens next? The immediate deadline for full SNAP distribution is Friday, as ordered by Judge McConnell. If the administration fails to comply, it could face further legal penalties or contempt proceedings. Meanwhile, the First Circuit Court of Appeals will decide whether to uphold or suspend McConnell's order. That decision could again be challenged in the U.S. Supreme Court, where a recent ruling had already allowed the Trump administration to temporarily pause full SNAP payments earlier in the month. For now, states are waiting for updated instructions from the USDA, and millions of low-income families are waiting for relief. Experts warn that even if full payments are restored soon, trust in the SNAP program has been shaken. Many beneficiaries now fear that their essential aid can vanish with a political dispute. The court's ruling may bring temporary relief to struggling Americans, but it also highlights a bigger issue. When political power struggles collide with social welfare, ordinary citizens often pay the price. Will this ruling force the government to prioritize human needs over politics? Or is it just another chapter in Washington's gridlock? Tell us what you think in the comments. Should the courts have the power to overrule the president during a shutdown? If you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated with Shadow Report, where we bring you clear, balanced, and in-depth coverage of stories that impact real lives. Because behind every policy, there's a person.